Okay. Once again, thank you so much, Mr. Singer, for
My
taking some
pleasure.
time out of your day to be here with us and sharing your wonderful advice and tips for the students. The first question we have for you is, how can one prepare for an interview, virtually or in person? We know a lot of, with the pandemic now, there's a lot of virtual interviews happening, some in person. So we just want to hear some of your tips about how a student to go about preparing for those types of interviews.
Well, the obvious one is doing a deep dive into finding about the prospective employer. I don't think you need me to tell you that. You have to know where you're going. But I think one thing that maybe interviewees may not think about doing is trying to find out as much as they can about the person that's interviewing them. And it's amazing what you can find on the internet, and it's important to be able to find some common ground with a person that you're interviewing, because that is that you are being interviewed by, because in reality they want to see how you relate to people. And if you can find an immediate way to relate to the interviewer by showing that you've done homework, it is amazing. Obviously, the personal appearances that you have in terms of your dress, uh, not coming in jeans or sloppy looking. Make sure you're well shaved, or and I don't mean to be sexist, but makeup. But you just want to present a professional appearance for the position that you're seeking. And so the interviewer wants to know if you've done your homework. That's the first thing. One really important question, because really you're trying to sell yourself. So in a sales situation, you want to ask the client what they want. So asking what qualities and strong points are you seeking for this position? Not what's this position about, because you should know that before you go to the interview. But what strong points uh, and talents are you looking for? And then sell to those, so that you'll know if you have those qualities, and whether you should mold your sales presentation of yourself to those qualities that they're looking for.
I love that. That's a great response, I think, especially the question you mentioned about what qualifications are you looking for. That's definitely an important question.
Well,
That, you
I
know,
would concentrate on the character and qualities that they're looking for, because you should know something about the job that you're seeking, so that you can show personal focus and not be wishy-washy.
yes, definitely. I agree with that 100%. We can move on to the second question. Um, do you have any advice that you could share for first time interviewees? What advice do you have for them?
Well, if you realize what the employer is looking for, it's generally the ability to communicate ideas and present them in an organized fashion. Now, you may not be able to show that you can use PowerPoint or Keynote in Apple, but from being able to articulate your ideas, that is something that uh, a potential employer wants to know. They also want to know how you function in a group dynamic situation, how you work with others, your ability uh, to explain your ideas and to get along with others. Present examples of some of the successes that you've had relate to that particular job. Uh, Successes that could apply to the job that you're seeking, or even take it one step further. Explain why you want to work for the company. Be specific and avoid shooting yourself in the foot. And it's amazing how you can do that. I had given an example of, I was interviewing a possible associate at one point in time, and I said, well, what would you like to be doing 5 years from now? And the answer was, well, I'd like to be working for, and they named a competing firm. And I thought, well, why would I hire you if I'm just training you for a competing firm? Okay, so that's an example of shooting yourself in the foot. What you want to also display or try to convey, because this is very difficult, is honesty, integrity, a strong work ethic, trustworthiness, your technical abilities, and confidence, but in a modest way. Don't brag. You want to show consideration for others. You can show consideration for the person that is the interviewer. Uh, you can look around the office and see if you can, or understand something about them. I understand you're interested in so and so. You have this hobby or this talent, or that you won this prize. Uh, Tell me about it. I'm interested in what you're doing and how that relates to this job. Ask the interviewer. A lot of people think the interviewee is being interviewed. You are interviewing the potential employer to see if that's a place that you want to work. Okay, I think a lot of people forget that they might want to do this. So ask the interviewer how they came to the company and what they think the strengths and weaknesses are for a potential employer, for a potential employee of the company. Very importantly, when you're finished, send a thank you note to the people that you've interviewed with. Handwritten, not an email or a text. Handwritten. Get some note paper and handwrite a note. I know it's retro in this day where we're all techies, but believe it or not, very few people will do this. And it makes you stand out that you have taken the time and that you know how to communicate. And that makes a big hit with potential employers. They know that you can be technically competent or that you've conveyed that in your resume. But that's very, very important to interview the company as well as let them interview you. Okay, but just don't brag.
I love that point. I really love that point that we're also interviewing the employers. It's not something that we think about. But that was some great advice. I'm trying to remember those as well to keep in mind for when I start to do like the interview stuff, like interview process as well. So thank you for sharing that.
Right.
Moving on to our final question. How can students strike a balance between professionalism and friendliness?
Well, the first thing is don't pull pranks on your fellow employees. Away from the office, and they've got to be good. If you do that, if you are with people socially, you can, express humor, but be careful that it's not harmful, that it's not harassment of any kind, not sexist. But here's how you can really make a hit in a company. First of all, you need to practice tact and diplomacy and not have a keen temper. Okay, because that will turn people off immediately. Recognize others' success and give other people credit publicly. Give them credit. If you have a criticism, I know this is people should realize this. Criticize people privately makes a big difference, but give people credit. A lot of times people think that if you give people credit, it diminishes your position because there's just so much credit to go around that it's finite, but it isn't. It goes out to infinity. So even though someone else has a success or you give someone credit, it doesn't detract from you. It enhances your position because you're saying, I have enough self-confidence. I can compliment someone on a job well done and make a fuss over them as long as it's sincere. And I can handle that. And it's amazing how it will come back to you. Note important life cycle events that people are going through. If they're getting married, if they had a kid, if there's someone passed away, and be kind to people. Realize that people carry burdens with them every day. And even though they might express themselves to you in a caustic way, try to realize that it's usually not you, it's some extraneous force that uh, is operating. And be honest, if you make a mistake, admit the mistake and take every step that you can to correct it. Because none of us are perfect. Gee, I shouldn't have done that. I made a mistake or I missed that point, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to work on it. So it's okay to be self-deprecating, but don't brag. It's amazing. People know if you're successful. You don't have to tell everyone else that you're successful. They know that you're doing a good job. So be kind and thoughtful to people on the way up the ladder, because sometimes you meet them on the way down. And if you're not careful, they will help you get down faster from that ladder. So take care of your colleagues and help them. There was an expression in the Army when it was only men, when I was training to be an officer: take care of your men. And of course that, means take care of the people that are working with you, whether men or women, obviously. But make sure you do everything you can to help them be successful. Don't go over the heads of your supervisor unless there is something illegal, immoral, or unethical that's occurring. Then you have to bring it to someone's attention from a compliance standpoint. But include, and if someone else takes the credit, fine. Eventually people will know, how terrific you are. And once a decision is made on an action that you're participating in, the majority has agreed to, then you have to support that or get out of the way. And I've seen, you really don't want to talk against your company or, against any individual, because you have to assume it will get back to whoever. And don't even talk privately about matters on public conveyances. I've seen people get fired because someone in the seat behind them on a train heard what they were saying and reported it back to the person. I've seen someone get fired for that. So keep confidences. If someone tells you something in confidence, don't be a gossip. Make sure that you keep their confidence. It means a lot. People will come to you for advice. So it's a matter of what's good taste. You can be friendly and courteous and kind and mildly, humor. Nobody wants to be that straight-laced. But nevertheless, when it comes to doing your job, you do it the best you can and follow some of these principles.
Yes, thank you so much. I agree 1,000%. I think, kindness definitely goes a very long way into that professionalism. And then just being tactful about and mindful about our words, especially now in this day and
Right,
age more than ever.
right. So, you could talk a whole lot on any one of these questions, but those were some of the things that just came to mind that I've experienced over the years, and others have as well.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for sharing your pearl of wisdoms.
Good luck to you in your future endeavors.